Gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's April 20th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by LifeWallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And apologies to all Matt Shodell fans out there, but on the road again today, out of studio. So this is going to be an audio-only podcast. And you're just going to have to envision in your mind Matt Shodell's matinee idol, good looks, and get your morning fix in a fantasy kind of world. But we'll still talk about the news of the day if I can get Matt focused enough to do so. So
it's such a shame,
apologies.
too. It's such a shame because I've replaced my horse painting with a giant, awesome University of Miami banner, but I only rented the banner for 5 days, so the horse may be back by the time we're back on video. It's a shame.
Well, we'll figure something else out. I still got that painting that I thought was a spectacular piece of work by one of our subscribers. It's primed up and ready. It's on a wall in my office at home, but I can always replace it and give it to you for your home studio, so to speak, so that we can get rid of the horse and have some hurricane flavored artwork behind you each day. But that's neither here nor there right now because nobody can see you today. They can just hear you. So let me get you talking about the news of the day. Take a deep breath. Let me get you focused. And I'm going to start with...
Before you get me focused, I'm going to do the Chris Rock thing and say, I want to get paid. I want to get paid to put that painting up on my wall. If you want that painting on my wall, if you pay me a surcharge to have it up there, or if somebody wants to put some advertisement up where the horse is, contact me, okay? It's Matt Shodell is better than Gary Ferman at gmail.com. Offer me a certain amount of money, and I'll put your painting up on the wall or your promo up on the wall. It's super easy.
All right, I'm going to talk to the artist. I obviously know who it is, and I'm going to see, he could have aspirations of a career in creating abstract art, and he might go for that. He just might. He's a guy that's never afraid to spend a few bucks, and it might be worth his while. He might even want to identify himself. Imagine that, to the posters at CaneSport.com as the guy that created that fine piece of art. So I'll discuss it with him. We'll see where that goes. In the meantime, please, will you let me start with discussion on Maryland defensive tackle Daryl Jackson, because I think this is a big deal, Matt. This is a kid that's very early in his career. He's 6'5 and a half, 301 pounds. He played in every game at Maryland last season as a freshman, finished with 22 tackles because he only started one. Remember, he was a freshman and he had to gain weight. He's put on 40 pounds since arriving at Maryland. This is evolving into a Zion Nelson-esque type story. Well, now Daryl Jackson has decided he doesn't want to continue his career at Maryland. He's put himself in the portal. The Florida Gators have taken a big run at him. Florida State flirted with him a little bit, but he is visiting the Miami Hurricanes Thursday through Sunday. He makes it very clear this is a very serious visit, and that it would not be the least bit surprising if he emerged from the weekend picking between Miami and Florida. Your thoughts on this breaking news on Maryland defensive tackle transfer Daryl Jackson?
I mean, you know me, man. I'm always Mr. Negative. So the truth is, he's a project. Okay, he played 2 years in high school. That's it. He started off playing 195 pounds as a junior in high school, which was really 3 seasons ago for him. As a senior, 2 years ago, didn't have any real major offers. Tennessee actually dropped him. He was committed to Tennessee. They said, you know what? We saw your senior highlight film. We're good. His coaching staff was very upset about it. And, they had some connections. They reached out to Maryland with a connection there and said, hey, he's going to be really good. And Maryland took a chance on him. And he had a good enough season. Is this a guy who's coming in with a resume where he's going to just be a starter from day one at Miami? To me, no. Can he be really, really good in 2 or 3 years? He keeps building from the base he's got now. Yeah. But to me, he's a guy who will compete to start at tackle this year. He's not a guy who I'd say, oh my gosh, like Mitchell Agood, I think will start at defensive end. This isn't a guy who I think, will just come in and start at defensive tackle. I think he'll be in the rotation at defensive tackle. I think Miami is taking any defensive lineman they can get. Florida it wants the kid too, so obviously he's good enough for them as well. But this is just how I see it. Fans can be mad at me. That's just how I see it.
Well, I mean, let's take what you're saying and start with the fact that you're calling him a project. And I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I mean, this is a kid.
This is a miracle.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to disagree with you on that point. I'm going to find others in a second. But on that point, I'm not going to disagree with you because he's a guy that just has been gaining weight. He didn't play a ton. I mean, he played in every game for Maryland, but he only started one. And no, he is not an extremely experienced college football player like a Mitchell Agood, who you compared him to, which I'm okay with that. But here's what I'm going to say. I think you got to peel the onion back. You have to say, why? Why are the Miami Hurricanes interested in Daryl Jackson? And the reason is, as you and I know, and anybody that is evaluating things with a clear lens knows, that Miami needs to be better on the defensive line and up front. Okay. Harrison Hunt got nothing done this spring. He was hurt. Okay. Leonard Taylor did not bust out under this new coaching like everybody would have liked to see him do. And he's under the gun here in the next 3-4 months to work hard and make himself a better football player, because this is now year 2 of Leonard Taylor. And Leonard Taylor was recruited to be an elite football player at the University of Miami. Okay, he's not there yet. Okay, he has to push himself harder. He has to stop worrying about NIL deals and things like that. He's got to get in the weight room, and he's got to make himself a better player. But it has not happened yet. Elijah Roberts always hurt. Okay, that's a guy that might have potential to bust out at some point here moving forward, but we don't know yet. It's an unknown quantity because he just missed spring practice. I mean, he has not been able to stay healthy long enough to develop as a college defensive lineman. Okay, Jordan Miller looks to be in the greatest shape of his career, but when has he been an elite contributor up front that you can really, really count on? He looks like a rotation guy. And I could go on and on, Matt, but the point I'm making is there is not proven commodity at the defensive tackle position for the Miami Hurricanes. And we know there's not a lot at the defensive end position either, but there is every reason in the world for them to recruit Daryl Jackson and to keep looking in the transfer portal and keep looking for guys that they might be able to develop that will help them up front in 2022.
Well, this is the give and take that we keep talking about that is a little complicated to understand, right? If they do indeed wind up with him, like you and I agree, he's a little bit of a project, but I think he's got really good upside. Would you rather have him, or would you rather have a 4 or 5 star recruit in the next class? If he's not starting this year, if he's a backup guy who's getting 30 tackles and is good enough, maybe he'll be really good down the road, but it's costing you a scholarship spot. It's costing you a roster spot. It's hard to jettison a guy like that again because you take him. If you say you're not good enough, what's okay?
It's okay. This is a guy I know that can play college football. I'm not gambling on a high school kid at defensive tackle where I got to put 2 years of development into him anyway. Look at Leonard Taylor. Leonard Taylor couldn't have been any more heralded as a recruit. I mean, he hasn't shown it to us yet.
Leonard Taylor was recruited by a different staff. Not there's anything wrong with that. He's a very good player. But my point is, I think that Mario Cristobal and these guys are putting so much energy into recruiting. Every spot you take away is a potential 5-star. Not that they'll get a 5-star all around the place, but there's guys at defensive line. You have numbers are numbers, right? And you got a redshirt freshman now, which he will be, a sophomore rather, which he'll be on your roster for 3 years. Maybe in the class of 2024, they're not trying to get a defensive tackle now because they think this guy's good enough, but maybe they would get another 5-star. I don't know, but it just is what it is, and it's a spot in the roster for 3 years that you're using on him. And if he doesn't pan out and he's just good enough and he's another, maybe a better version of Jordan Miller, like, is that okay? Is that the highest potential you can have at that position? That's all.
Well, that's where evaluation comes in. And I'm
Right.
assuming that they have broken down every second of Daryl Jackson's tape.
Well, this is okay. Forget that. This is not a case of that. This is not a case of, okay, Daryl Jackson's better than the next guy we're going to land out of recruiting. This is not that case. This is Mario Cristobal knowing what we all know, which is the defensive line is not good enough, and him wanting to win now because, like we said, you're mortgaging the future to win now, which is okay because, like I changed my mind on, I said you have to win now because that's what recruits want to see. I get it. But I'm just saying it's a give and take, man, and fans have to understand that. You take a guy like this, it's a spot that's gone for somebody else, like at some point in the next 2 or 3 years, assuming this guy sticks out his career here, whether he's good, average, or great, as long as he's not terrible and gets cut, like that just is what it is. That's a fact.
Yeah, I don't think they're stressing out about any of that. I think they want to make this team as good as they can make it for the 2022 season. Mario didn't come here to waste seasons.
Correct. That's what this is about. 100%.
He came here to try to win, and he's going to spend every day until the beginning of September looking to make this roster better in any way he can. And yeah, he may have to break this program down a little bit and build it back up. And yes, people may have to have some patience with that. But if you're watching that spring game last weekend with any semblance of honesty, you're saying there's still a lot of guys out there that aren't going to be able to get it done if Miami's going to contend for championships. And they got to keep turning over every stone and make themselves better at every single position. And defensive tackle is right up there at the top with linebacker for sure. And, I think they got to keep looking for offensive linemen, which I think they will. I mean, they're really only like 6-7 deep right now. And any way they can get better at the line of scrimmage, I think they're going to do it. So we've got a story on the website today on Daryl Jackson and the ins and outs of his transfer from Maryland and his visit to Miami. Encourage everybody to read that. That will be something big to follow through the weekend. All right. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other things that are on the website today. Let's switch gears to Logan Sagapolu, the transfer from Oregon. He's already come through the transfer portal. He's already on campus. Just a weight room freak, puts up ridiculous numbers. He told us that he can squat 700 pounds. I mean, can you imagine? And when
don't cut him shy, man. He said 800, but whatever. It's just 100
did he say 800? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 100 pounds you're off by. No big deal.
I don't know if I believe 800, but he says he can do 800. Okay. But the bottom line about Logan is that he is a workout warrior. When you're standing next to him, it doesn't feel like he's that kind of imposing human being. Like, you're not going to see him in the Olympics, doing those power lifts or anything like that. Those guys are hulking human being. Like, Logan is a young guy, but incredibly strong. I mean, incredibly strong, Matt. And whether it's 700, 800, whatever he can squat. I mean, you watch this kid, he's got the work ethic, the motor. In between reps, he'll take a rep and then he'll sprint back to the line of scrimmage for his next rep. He's a leader in the O-line room. They absolutely love him. And I think you're going to see a lot of Logan Sagapolu on the Miami offensive line this year.
Yeah, he's different than the other linemen. He's, he's not the fastest or quickest, but he's strong, man. He's a people mover, And I'm not sure if he's going to start this year or not. But he's young. He's got a lot of upside to him. So again, it's that give and take in the portal. They took him. I assume they think he can help out right away in some respect, as opposed to a number they could take in recruiting. So yeah, I mean, we watched him in the spring. He looked okay. I mean, he wasn't like the greatest offensive lineman I've ever seen, but he's good enough. I like him as a player. When he went in the portal, it wasn't like a million schools were coming after him. I think he wound up. It was between Miami, Washington, and who else? There was one other school in it. So I mean, he didn't have much tape, obviously, out of Oregon. So maybe that's why. Colorado was the other one, right? So he looked good enough. I'm not ready to anoint him a starter or anything like that. I think when Jalen Rivers is back, I think at full go, assuming Rivers stays at guard, and even if he goes to tackle.
Rivers will be the left guard. I think Logan will be the right guard.
Well, think about it this way, right? You still got Justice Oluwaseun, who looked really good.
He'll be a swing guy. I think he'll be a swing guy.
Wouldn't surprise me if DJ Scapes moves to guard and Rivers to tackle or something like that. We'll see.
All right. We got a couple freshmen to be recruits to talk about here that we have stories about on the website today. But before we do that, let's take a moment to hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I will be your shield in the fiercest battle. I'll defend you.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Cleveland Reed, and I play offensive line, and my job is to protect. I protect my family with Life Wallet. How about you?
Of course, I got Life Wallet. It's the best way to protect my family.
Long as we go together, we'll die, we'll never be a light. Couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never.
To protect you and your family, get Life Wallet now.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
All right, so we've got a couple stories on the website today, like I said, about a couple freshman recruits. And the first one I want to talk about is a wide receiver, Jalen Brown. He was at the Miami spring game. Many think he'll wind up a Cane for a reason. Jalen Brown is a very high priority recruit. He will unquestionably get an NIL deal if he comes to Miami, and would have a great future as a speed receiver that can really, open things up for the Miami offense. So, we update Jalen Brown today, Matt, and I feel real confident about this one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And what's funny about it, fans always think that if Miami had lit it up in the spring game, because he was at the spring game, right? Fans always think if Miami had just lit it up at the spring game and had 6 passing touchdowns and the receivers were running crazy and making unbelievable plays, that would make a guy like Jalen Brown want to be a Hurricane even more. But no, Jalen Brown says that watching the receivers struggle, he realized, hey, I can come to Miami and I could be that guy who's making the big plays from day one. So, so that helps Miami. It's like that old weird thing where when a team's struggling, that's just a good team in general. Recruits want to go there because they can play early versus going to some amazing team where they have to sit for 2 or 3 years, So it almost works both ways, right? It's kind of funny. But yeah, I think he'll be a Hurricane. He likes Miami a lot, but he's going through the process. He's visiting LSU this weekend, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And when you guys are checking out that story on the website this morning, make sure you watch his tape also. He's a really impressive player. Old school looking. Reminds me a little bit of Amon Richards at first glance. I love his game. I think he'd be a great get for Miami. And, a lot of people are focused on the fact, Miami's not getting every local kid this year. How are they supposed to get every local kid? I mean, if you're Hakeem Williams and you're Brandon Innis and you're Santana Fleming and you're Jalen Brown and you're Robbie Washington and you're a skilled player from South Florida, how is every single one of them supposed to go to the University of Miami? I mean, I don't understand, and I'm not going to call anybody out today because I don't, want to ruffle any feathers, but I don't know how somebody could write a story right now questioning the impact of Mario Cristobal in recruiting, okay? There is nothing to question there. Miami is in with so many kids, both in South Florida and outside of South Florida, and amazing job in recruiting by the coach. Amazing, right, Matt?
Which is why people get upset when I say maybe they shouldn't take this transfer or that transfer. But that's why, because I have so much confidence in them in recruiting, and to take somebody from some other program who's been there for a couple of years, who maybe wasn't a guy that they would take now in recruiting if they were a recruit, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I just want this team to be national championship team in 2 or 3 years. And I don't expect them to be amazing this year. I get that they have to be good, but that's where I'm coming from with some of the, transfer stuff that fans may get upset about. It's just the fact I see how good they are in recruiting guys, man. I just want them to recruit everybody and get 25 players in the next 2 or 3 classes every year and just freaking turn it around, man.
But I mean, like, would you agree that like they're not getting every single guy? I mean, like, seriously,
They're gonna get
like,
enough. They're gonna get enough. They're gonna get enough. They will.
right? But like, some people want to judge them on getting every single kid, and it's ridiculous. Like,
Right.
you know, like they could get 3 receivers from South Florida this year, and that would be a win-win-win-win-win. That would not be a failure. And some people want to point and say, "Oh, geez, they may not get Brandon Innes or whatever." I mean, you know, you can't look at this like that, because this is a really good recruiting year at certain positions, and Miami's not going to get every single kid when there's multiple prospects at every spot. They're not all going to go to Miami. So, you know, we'll see what happens. I think the Canes will get their fair share. But you know, I do think that Jalen Brown needs to be somebody they do get. I think they will. He's already been recruiting for Miami a little bit behind the scenes. I'm not sure what's holding up a commitment, but hopefully they can lock him up, you know, relatively soon. All right, another kid that's getting a lot of attention is from Kissimmee, Osceola, up in the middle of the state, and that's defensive end Derrick Leblanc. And I'll be honest, I've watched Derrick up close and personal. I've seen him live, and he's an impressive-looking physical kid. I mean, he's 6'5", at least 240. I mean, they list him at 240. He's at least that. And when you're looking, like, if you're giving him the look test, you're saying, yeah, got to get him. As a football player, you know, I want to see more from Derrick. I want to, you know, see a little bit greater motor. I want to see him maxing out his size. But it looks right now like he does have a committable offer from Miami. He was here for the spring game, took the visit with his father. We saw him on the field before and after the game, and now we've spoken to him about the experience. So we have an update on the website today on Derrick Leblanc. All right, so that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you for joining us once again. I hope everybody has a phenomenal day. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you next time, everybody.